Hey y'all. Um, I was driving. I did not want to miss this. Um, didn't want to miss this sunset. I woke up too late to catch the sunrise, and somebody sent a picture to one of my group texts. And man, wasn't I jealous? But I didn't have to sleep for 12 hours either. But maybe I needed that sleep, right? That's what people say, I guess. Maybe you needed that. I like to sleep till I wake up. And I guess what I really want to talk about today was, I just brought my son home. I had a good Christmas with my sister and her family and my son. My other two kids are back home. They're older. They understand. I wanted to talk about, I guess, there's this book, The Four Agreements. The first agreement is be impeccable with your word. Impeccable to me means the most honest, the most truthful. Be impeccable with your word towards yourself. I had to stop calling myself a dumbass. The second agreement is not to take shit personally. I used to take things very personally from other people. I think that was just my narcissistic tendencies, thinking that other people really cared that much about me. That's why they offended me. But really, they were just thinking about themselves. And now that I have 14 months clean and sober, I know that it's okay to be selfish. I used to try to be all noble for other people, just to show you what my worth was. So that's the second agreement. Don't take shit personally. Third agreement, don't make assumptions. I had to stop making assumptions about things because I would just see a little bit of somebody or what happened in situations, and I made all kinds of assumptions based off my life experiences. And I learned to get curious. I don't know everything. I'm very wrong. As a matter of fact, one of the first things I learned when I studied at school was the more I learned, the more I realized how little I actually know. So yeah, the third one, don't make assumptions. The fourth one, do your best. And I like that. That was written by Don McGill Ruiz, who was he was a Toltec Indian. He was a doctor in the domesticated world, as they call it. His grandfather was still a full-fledged Toltec Indian. And they believe we're all artists. And, how we move in the world is art, and what we do in our relationships. And it's kind of beautiful. I really fell in love with those books, and I read The Fifth Agreement, and him, and my father sent me a book, The Wisdom of the Shamans, which was great. Don McGill Ruiz's son writes too. So I got confused. I thought they were all him, but it was really beautiful. But today I woke up late, and a friend I know that goes to church, she told me, she was like, "Oh, I stayed up late. I almost missed church." And I was like, "Oh, I just woke up and it was 12. This is when she got done." She was like, "Oh, must be nice to sleep in." I was like, "Yeah, it was pretty nice." I was like, "It's a good thing my meditation app I use isn't restricted by time." So I meditated. And, I have a lot of friends that go to church because I go to meetings. I'm connected with people that are Christians. And I'm a cultural Christian, I guess. I believe in a God, the universal order is kind of God. And any full-fledged Christian, I think, doesn't know what the image of God really is. So I think it's best. I think that we couldn't even begin to understand what a God is, or the universe, or whatever this is, right? We are the reason why I rebelled against religion, organized religion, was I thought it was a little rich for somebody to think they know what's going on. I do understand that the Bible, I have lived in hell and I've lived in heaven on this earth. So the Bible is a good manual to live life, right? The golden rule is a good thing to live by. It is good, so it's hard to argue with. And the fact that the society here in the U.S. was constructed from Christianity, like our world that we know was constructed of it. So whether you believe in it or not, you still follow the calendar, you still, we still do all these things that, came from the church. And it's a good thing. It's been used for bad things, but I think overall, me finding my spiritual center has been a good thing, and getting closer to other people who are spiritual helped. I didn't really find my spirituality until I had an ego death, right? And the biggest ego trip of all is thinking you can get rid of your ego, which I had a big one, and I used to be very arrogant, and I'm glad. The biggest helpful thing I could say to anyone struggling is to go to a meeting and talk to somebody else in your shoes. That's given me the most help. It's beneficial to talk to people that have some of the same struggles. Beyond that, what you can do for yourself is write every day, meditate, spending time with myself, getting comfortable with being bored. Just a couple minutes a day. It doesn't have to, you don't have to live in meditation. Although you can get addicted to it. I have addiction issues, and I can get addicted to sugar. I can get addicted to going to a certain meeting. I can get addicted to different things, and too much of one thing is probably not good. A good balance works out well. So I don't know. I just didn't want to waste the sunset. I was dropping my son off. Thought I'd say hey. And I'm really glad. I was upset. I didn't plan on being in the middle of the United States in the heartland. But it is beautiful. I can see why in Montana they call it Big Sky. I'm not that far from Montana. And, just take a look. I just pulled off the road around me. And this is America's heartland, people. This is where a lot of food's grown. A lot of sustenance here in the heartland. So I appreciate you guys. Come and say hi. I looked, YouTube sent me a big achievement effort. Get 10 watch hours. That's amazing. I can't imagine anybody that would watch too much of this, but maybe there's some people out there. You're struggling with any type of addiction, alcoholism, struggling with anything really. Man, I'm so much more comfortable with myself than I was. I had so much anxiety going on. If I sat when I first started meditating, after 2 minutes, it was hard for me. I always wanted to be doing something else, anything to get out of my head, right? And, I thought it was good going to sleep to music or going to sleep with the TV on. It really, wow, look at these colors over here. Really beginning to go inside and get comfortable with who I am as a person has really helped out. It really helped out over this week. A fellow veteran sent a text message saying he needed some help. I called him. He was drinking. He was going through a bad situation. he got in a fight with another manager or something. He's a veteran, and this is a veteran who's been overseas, who's probably killed people or been around people that have died. A lot of veterans have. So he's telling me, he's like, this guy is into jiu-jitsu and all this, and he's like, I really want to fight him. I was like, don't do it. I was like, I already know you're fantasizing about destroying this guy. And I was like, if you do that, it could end up in death. Like, I've been in so many fights, so many bar fights, and I'm so lucky that somebody hasn't died or something major hasn't happened. But this dude, me and him started talking, after a couple hours. We were laughing and joking about stories from our military experience, being on detachment. And I used to say, I did 7 years in the military, in the Navy, 5 detachments, El Salvador, Iceland, and the Persian Gulf on a ship. And all I got was a stinking hat. But truthfully, I got a lot more than that. I got introduced to, learning how to use alcohol to suppress any kind of problem you might have. So, it worked. It seemed to work at the time. It seemed to be what everybody did. And, after getting out, it was hard for me to adjust to polite society. I like going to the bar and seeing who the other rabid people were that would get drunk and crazy and want to fight or do something. It was just the craziest thing. So I told this guy, and another guy came on and started talking about his experience. And this other guy had some issues with suicidal ideations, and I know some guys. I never got that far. I used so hard, I never had the balls to unalive myself or anything like that. But I used so hard. One of my counselors told me, she was like, you're basically hopeless, using heroin so bad that you're almost dying from it. You've been Narcaned many times, and that's the life of a heroin junkie. You could die, and I didn't see the problem. I just kept on using. I did see the problem after a while, but it seemed like everybody else was freaking out about it more than I was, and I didn't see the issue. Whatever will be is the attitude I used to say. But that's neither here nor there anymore. This guy, it was great that we have a phone group where somebody could actually reach out and say, yo, I need help, I'm lonely, and there isn't anybody else that understands. So if you're a veteran, if you were a police officer, if you did any kind of service work and you need help, I would say that, get talking, have conversations. We have so many different ways to do this. Whether it's Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, there's even one of my buddies went to Sex Anonymous because he couldn't stop watching porn or doing all that stuff. Different things affect people differently, and I've seen all of it after going through rehab in veteran-run domiciliaries. I've been exposed to some wild stuff, and I'm just grateful today. I'm so grateful that I'm still here, and I'm still standing. I'm able to see this sunset right here out in America's heartland. It's so beautiful, and I figured I just barely had enough time to make this video, and the sunset would go down before I got this video over with. I was so lucky to get this shot. And man, I guess, I wanted to make a video about mindfulness and meditation, because this last time when I went through treatment, I did so much mindfulness practice and meditation. I actually caught myself having a panic attack mid-conversation. I was challenging another person in my group, another veteran who is a single father, and we were talking about how the relationship we have with our son's mother, how we have to make that good to have a relationship with our son. And this guy was just, he was hurt pretty bad by his ex, the same way I was. Like, I always said, my ex was the one that ruined my life. Really, it was me. Anyway, so he was just saying how he would do these nasty things, started laughing, and I challenged him in class. And in challenging him, my heart started beating so bad. And at this point, I was meditating 3 hours a day. Like, I was really trying to get in touch with me, this metacognition, the matrix that we live in. And my heart started beating out of my chest, and I started doing breathing exercises, because that's what I do. At the time, I was medicated for panic attacks. I have nightmares and stuff, but I've been able to stop taking. Now I have it as needed, right? There was a time when I just took it every day. I stopped taking my anxiety medication, and because I have to. I like to have it there, because there's some days where I don't meditate every day. I don't do all those things that I know are going to be great for me, that do wonders for the soul. And man, there is I used to have this routine. But anyway, so I breathe myself out of this, and I'm just stunned, because after that group, I go to my counselor, and I brought the feelings wheel, and I was like, oh, I wonder what I was looking for, that one thing that did it. And she's like, Wayman, it's probably multiple things that set you off. But it was so, I had one panic attack after that, and it was when I was in the VA hospital. I wrote about one of my traumas. I left my ID where I wrote in the library. I woke up late. I ran upstairs to take my meds. I didn't have my ID, and I was getting late for a class. I hate being late. And this girl behind the desk wouldn't help me. And I just out of a fit of paranoia and a panic attack, I just went off, and I yelled at her for 5 seconds. And it was I turned around, and the morning traffic was all there. It was 17 veterans. It was Monday morning, and I had to walk away, and I went and found my ID. I went to class, and an hour later I went back and I apologized to that nurse, and I was like, oh my God, I felt like such an ass. And I'm usually nice as pie, and that's the last panic attack I've had. And I've been in hundreds of fights in my life, and stemming from, I don't know if it comes from my mom being an alcoholic, or just being in danger a lot when I was young. I got in a lot of fights. I got in a lot of fights when I was older. So, come to find out, I was having panic attacks and freaking out, and then getting drunk on the weekends. I knew how to put myself into a panic attack. As soon as I saw some asshole do something to make himself look like an asshole or be a bully, I would always step, because I was I always defended people against bullies, right? Really, I was just looking for a fight, and I would set myself off into a panic attack and get into a fight, and I would do crazy things with my friends. Man, I just I can't stop this video, because how beautiful this is. Man, I thought I was going to be late to the show, and it looks like I was right on time. Looks like I was right on time. Look at that. Look at this beautiful place we live. Man, there'd be a time where none of this mattered. The only thing I cared about was getting my next fix. And this goes to show you, every day is a new chance. You have a new chance on life. You have a new chance to meet somebody new. There's you have friends out there you haven't even met yet. Some of the greatest people you might ever know. You might have some old friends that come back into your life because they've done some of the same work you have. Whether it be spirituality with Buddhism and reading the Tao Ching and getting closer to Eastern traditions like I did. And that brought me closer to some of the family I have that are real, hard faith Christians, right? And I always shut myself off from them because I didn't think they'd accept me. I didn't understand, and it was a way for me to use that to really just separate myself and isolate, so I didn't have to explain myself. And so it also gave me an excuse. It gave me a good excuse to use drugs and alcohol. Alcohol used to be my thing a long time ago, but I saw myself turning into a lot of alcoholics I grew up with, and I didn't like that. I think alcohol really ruins lives. Holy fuck, I can't believe how beautiful this is. This is just the craziest show on earth. Look at this place. And I have a lot of friends that are so embarrassed to talk about it, that have experience with suicidal ideations. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on this platform, unaliving themselves. People, I didn't understand to what lengths people would go to, because when I used in my addiction, I would just use so hard. Some people would call that being suicidal, but I didn't care. I was hopeless about life, and I used that as an excuse to just use as hard as I could, and I woke up every time. Somehow, sometimes I got Narcaned. I usually got upset at the people that did that because, I always woke up when I was by myself and I went out. I always woke up, and I did it a long time. And now I have some memory issues from that. I don't always remember, which is good. It keeps me honest. I think it was Mark Twain that said, you can always trust a person with a bad memory, right? Because they can't remember a lie. And I like that. I like the new people I've met in my addiction and in recovery who show me that I'm not a scumbag anymore. I'm not a piece of shit. I'm actually a fucking good person. I'm actually a father that cares. I can be those things. I don't have to lie about them anymore. I don't have to be oh yeah, I am, I always used to say in my addiction, I'm a good dad. When I'm with my kids, I was always a good dad. When I had a family, until that bitch ruined it and left me. But really, I always said my ex left me and I started using drugs. What happened was, I started using before that. And I started doing things that were selfish. And my family came kind of last in some things. I tried to make up for it. And I tried to talk my way out of it. But I knew it was coming. And I went on the road working. And my ex, he started seeing someone else. Somebody else that really cared for her. And whatever. And she ended up leaving him and marrying another guy who I became friends with. And that's cool. But I always said that she was the reason. She was the reason that I started using, and that wasn't true. Like, I've always loved using. I was just looking for a good excuse. And who could blame me? My son's mother moved another man into our house when I was on the road, and I didn't even know. Man, I knew. I should have known. If I didn't know, man, that was awful dumb of me. Because who would put up with that? Like, God bless her heart. Like, even when I found out she moved somebody in, I still talk to her. I still had to send her money. My kids still lived there. It was hard too, because I felt like such an idiot for so long. But that's what happens. That's what you go through. And I don't have those resentments anymore. I wish her well. I wish everybody well. Like, even people that don't like me and that maybe they think I'm their enemy or whatnot, I wish them well too, man. I wish you well. I don't know the plan. I don't hold hate in my heart anymore. Like, I really hope that everyone could, my whole life I really hope that everyone could just come together and figure it out. And I understand we can't do that. It's a big world with 8 billion people, 350 million Americans or so, or whatever it is, right? Like, we're not all going to get along, but if we could all find a way to live with each other and disagree with respect and honor, I think that's all we can do. So I guess I'll end this to any addict that would still be here and that's still listening. Like, I wish you well. Like, we all get clean in our own time, and we all do things we wish we wouldn't have, but that's fine. Like, you can get through it. You can get through and change. I think that starts by, spending some time with yourself, and being with yourself, and being with some friends, and find some support. But really, at the end of the day, I think, you really have to strengthen that armor. Like my friend says, it's the armor of God. And I'm like, yes, I'm strengthening yourself by getting comfortable with yourself. Go inward, get curious, and find out what's lurking beneath that stuff, and start writing, start reading, listening to audiobooks. Try doing something different, and find that inspiration you need to get over the hill. And really, man, if you could just imagine yourself where you want to be, what does that day look like? When you wake up, what's your perfect day look like, right? And, stop saying it's like when you wake up and that beautiful woman, the woman of your dreams is next to you, because that's not what it is. What it is right now is just you. It's just you in that bed, you and your thoughts when you wake up, and what you want them to be, and what, your 1 or 2% change today, go 6 months out, that 1% change turns into 20%, making small little changes. You don't have to quit smoking today, or, maybe just wait 5 minutes before your next cigarette. Maybe you smoke one less cigarette today than you did yesterday. And if you end up smoking, it doesn't matter as long as you're trying. If you pray, I pray, right? My sponsor got me praying to my mother, because when I first came in, I was an atheist. I wasn't even an atheist. I was an anti-theist, because I thought theism in Christianity was something else. I really didn't know anything. I got all my knowledge from these atheist intellectuals on YouTube, like Christopher Hitchens, Sam Harris, and Sam Harris studies Buddhism or Eastern traditions. So they have their own thing, but I always got my definitions from someone else. I say start trying to be original. And whatever it is, start now. It doesn't matter. Start now. And maybe in a year or two, you're going to be at that place that you fantasize about, that you wish you were at right now. You have to start living like that, right? Like, you actually have to be in the moment with yourself. Give yourself a chance to like experience this world in like all its glory. Like I never, I went to church as a child, and my mom told me, I needed to be like Jesus. And I really understood that, because I always wanted people to be good to me, so I was always good to other people. But, I had a couple of little bad things happen. I just covered them up. I never thought about them again. Any kind of bad thing that happened to me, any kind of childhood sexual trauma, any military trauma, any deaths, like all that, I thought we don't talk about it. We stay quiet. Like, and when you do that, and your pride makes you stamp that down inside, and you just smile like, oh, I can do that. I don't need to worry about that. I don't need to process that. I don't need to talk about that. It comes out in ugly ways. And it's like addiction, fighting, cheating on, your better half, your spouse. Comes out in weird little ways, right? So the best thing to do is like try to take a moment, close your eyes, and think about what your best day is like. Maybe it's like getting up at 6 a.m. you don't need an alarm because you went to bed early, right? And you get up, you make coffee, and maybe you pray. You're grateful for another day. You're grateful you have a relationship with your kids. You're grateful you can look in the mirror now, and you don't have to like force out like, oh, I love myself. Like you actually do like yourself. You brush your teeth. Like, you sit down. Maybe you write. It doesn't have to be a lot. Maybe you just write like, I'm grateful for a new day, and see what that stirs around on the inside. And like, I don't know why I'm on this right now, but like, why not write about what your perfect day is? What would that look like? Your perfect life. Why don't you write that out? Be really specific. Like, what color are your sheets? What kind of blankets do you have? What kind of coffee do you have? What coffee cup? What you want to wear. Who you want to talk to and be with. What is that? What would the perfect version, not the perfect version, what would be like the best version of yourself that you can see? Who is that dude? Or who is that chick? Like, who are you? Who's the best version of you? Like, if you ever heard of Joe Campbell and the hero's journey, like, my hero's journey was like circling this earth, when I was in the Navy, thinking I knew something about something. But my hero's journey was like that journey of my inner self and finding out who I was. And finding out I really can do a lot of things. I really can be happy. And once I got that way, and I finally got a lot of my anxiety out, and I started going around other people, man, I didn't realize how many other people had the same shit I did. Like, it's like, what's that quote? Like, there are no adults. Everybody's just guessing in the dark, right? Like, everyone that is still that person they were when they were 12. Or they're not the same person, but that spirit is still with them that they were when they were 10, when they were 15, when they were 21. That's still you. That's still me. We're still in there. We're still kids at heart. So you can like explore that and like see who else is exploring that stuff. Because I guarantee you, if you start going someplace and you start sharing how, like maybe you might have made some mistakes and you're not perfect. Like, that goes a long way with other people. If you can admit defeat and surrender in front of other people and show them that it's okay. Like, I go to meetings, and I used to go to trauma groups and talk about the stuff that happened to me. It's pretty, some of it to me isn't that bad now, but when I was first sharing it, it was like, it was the worst thing in the world to admit to somebody else that, some older kids when I was 10 tried to touch me and tried to get me to do stuff with them. And, I never talked about it because I used to think people would think I was gay. And, being a prideful man going into the military, the last thing I can have is anybody thinking I'm gay, right? And my cousin, he just died. I think he was bisexual. He never told me because he never talked about it. But, he did, when I was younger, he did try to do some things with me. And it's not like, man, that used to be such a big deal. And what hurt the most is when I used to go see him after and he'd call me gay or queer and make fun of me, when I thought I was kind of protecting him. So that the trauma didn't fuck with me as much as him like holding that over me for so long. And I swear to God, the last 50, maybe all my fights, right? But the last 25 were from him, me taking it out on somebody else, that angst I felt that I held in me. And I would when I got drunk and somebody came and did something to me and I could unleash, man, thank you. I unleashed, and through such a horrible way to live. Your spirit doesn't find any type of divinity. You won't connect with many people doing that. I mean, maybe it's allowed me to connect now, but it's a long way to travel around the bush to find connection. So being honest and being truthful with my word, being impeccable with my word now, has brought me to a place where I can be me. I can talk about almost anything, I guess. I still get a little anxious in front of some girls that I like or whatever, right? It's okay. Everybody else does too. If you talk about it, I guarantee you people can relate with that. Well, I guess I finally dragged this frickin' video out as long as I could till the sun went down. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad we could have this synonymously anonymous talk where I was going to start this channel and I wasn't going to let anybody see my face because I was so embarrassed. But it's so funny. Nobody I know is going to be able to get through 20 seconds of any of these videos. And if somebody else out there who's an addict who is getting something from this, that's great too. I mean, it helps me more than anybody else. But knowing that I can help somebody else, it helps me. And it helps me stay honest by knowing I'm going to keep checking in, saying hi, and knowing I don't need to be anything for anybody but other than me. And this is me. And if you need help, if you need somebody to talk to, you can leave a comment or do something, or reach out to somebody that used to be a friend. Maybe you think, if you need somebody, reach out. I think that's the moral, the point of this video, if there was one, right? Reach out to somebody and show them you're more than your thoughts. You're more than anyone else's thoughts. And you can be good with that. Can you let somebody else be wrong in front of you? Try it. Let somebody else be wrong. Stop trying to have to prove everybody right or see things your way. You don't have to. You can let everybody just exist how they are, and it'll be fine. And trust me, you'll probably get along better in this world. I mean, man, this place is beautiful. It's getting kind of cold. This is a crazy place where it gets 70 degrees during the day and it feels like it's 30 degrees right now, but it's probably not. It's probably just me. So, okay. Okay, kids. I'm glad we had this moment.